Hafa everyone. Happy belated Mother's Day to you, Professor, and all the mothers here today. I hope you had a great one. What I'll be talking about today is fitting for post-Mother's Day. The title for my informative speech is The Truth on Parenting Styles. As many of you may know, I am a parent of 3, and every day they are angels, but there are some days those angels have horns on their heads, if you know what I mean. Navigating parenthood has been a lot of choosing whether to follow what you've been taught versus following your instincts, but whether it's unwanted opinions or carefully organized guidelines, I feel every parent or parent-to-be should be open to hearing about any type of parenting info, and even if they don't think it's relevant to their stage in parenting, it's nice to have something in your back pocket for a later time. There's so much information out there on parenting that it confuses a lot of parents and sometimes even pits them against each other, which is terrible because we are all one group trying to do the impossible, raising well-adjusted, kind human beings, which is why they call it parenthood. So whether you've been in it for a while, thinking about it, or just found out via peeing on a stick, everyone could use a little bit of help when it comes to parenting. So let's dive in. Let's take a look at the different parenting styles there are. From WebMD, they've summarized it into 3 types. There's the authoritarian. This is the parents knows best approach that emphasizes obedience. Now, isn't it the definition of a typical Chamorro parent? Now, I don't know if any of you have these parents, but I definitely do. This is my dad. We were arguing one day and I was clearly right about something, and he told me, I don't care if you're right, I'm your father. That means I'm always right, even if I'm wrong. Yes, you heard that right. And you're probably scratching your head like I did when he said this to me. But as I grew older, I ended up understanding that that was all he knew because that was the way his parents parented him. And another trait with the authoritarian style is that it doesn't typically allow openness and vulnerability between parent and child. So unless you come out of a product of that authoritarian parenting without permanent molding, there is hope that you may not necessarily pass that on when it comes down to your own parenting. Now next, we have the permissive parenting, which provides few behavioral guidelines because parents don't want to upset their children. Parents with this style tend to be very loving and less strict, even friend-like, where they barely appear as parental figures at all. Personally, I've seen this style in some parents who are separated, and although they were co-parenting their children, this parent was trying to win the favorite parent role. And as a spectator, I felt that seemed a bit destructive in the long run, but who's to say if I ended up in that situation, I wouldn't be the same, you know? After you become a parent, when your child starts to show affection to you and then to others, and I don't know if it's just me, but I get a little jealous. I know it's silly, I'm their mother and there's no greater connection than that. But at least for me, there's this part of me where I'm scared of them loving someone more than me, which makes me especially nervous when my kids get older and getting into relationships. I don't know if my heart will be able to handle it, but that's just one parenting fear that you will have many of throughout the years. Lastly, there's the authoritative style, which blends a caring tone with structure and consistent limit setting. I'd say this is the most sought after style because it is a good blend between parental and friend role. You'll find that the parents with these styles regularly let their children do what they want as long as they've done the work to earn it. I'd like to say my mom was like this most of the time. I almost always got to go where I wanted with whoever I wanted, as long as 1, she knew them, 2, she knew where I was going and deemed it acceptable and safe, 3, always checked in with her. That's pretty general for any reasonable parent, right? And if you caught that, I said most of the time, which brings me to my next point. And just so we're clear, this conclusion I came up with were mainly inspired by different excerpts and from blogs and my own personal experiences. But here it is. This is the truth. A parent may have a default style, but throughout their life, they will jump between all three. Do you remember what my dad said to me before? Now, although he would say things like that a lot, he was the parent who would never say no if we wanted something or we wanted to go somewhere, which is why my relationship with him is confusing at times. And remember how I said my mom was most of the time? Other times she was authoritarian. She had authoritarian traits. But thinking about it now, I don't remember them ever using the permissive style at all. But now with this conclusion is very true to my own parenting, because I too will jump between styles depending on the situation. Like if I'm tired, if they're tired, what place are we going to, is time a factor, who's around, the list goes on. But parenting in general is a huge subject, but I personally live by two main things. Go with your instinct, because I've learned that as many guidelines as there are out there, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Whoever your high power is, they made you a parent, and for some reason trusted that you can do it. Which brings me to my second key. Don't judge yourself or others. It took me a long time to learn not to take other parents' triumphs in my own defeat. And I'd like to personally blame social media for that, because as nice as it is to see and read things that are going on for other parents and how glamorously it looks, it's not reality. As long as you feel as good as your parenting looks like in some of these people's posts, that's your triumph. Remember, we are all one group trying to do the impossible, raising well-adjusted, kind human beings. That's why they call it parenthood. Thank you.